My name is Thomas Reed. I'm 53 years old and I live on a plot of land where every inch tells a story of my own hard work. I built the house with my own two hands, on land I bought outright, free of debt or encumbrances. My place sits right at the edge of a sprawling suburban development called Brookhaven-Gladisa Community, controlled by a homeowners association. The HOA there is the textbook definition of micromanagement, where lawns must gleam like golf courses and mailboxes are inspected for matching designs. But my land? My land is outside their little fiefdom. Not part of their HOA, never has been and never will be. And I've got the legal documents to prove it. Not that any of this has stopped Linda Cartwright, the self-proclaimed queen bee of Brookhaven Glades, from treating me like some kind of outlaw refusing to kneel before her petty suburban throne. Linda isn't just the stereotypical nosy neighbor. She's the president of the HOA and she wields that title like a badge of law enforcement. With her signature sharp bob haircut and clipboard glued to her side, she struts through the streets of the neighborhood as if she's keeping the very fabric of society intact with nothing but citations and passive-aggressive memos. My problems with Linda started small. Sticky notes on my mailbox. Stern warnings about aesthetic harmony. It didn't matter that her complaints didn't apply to me. She took issue with my high steel fence, my angular modern house, my non-conforming trash bins. The next wave came in the form of emails and printed warnings left on my windshield, each one dancing around the fact that she had no legal ground to stand on. Her argument? That my property's proximity to Brookhaven Glades meant I had a visual impact on the community. At first, I ignored her, assuming she'd eventually set her sights on someone she could actually boss around. But Linda doesn't let things go. She watched my property like a hawk, glaring over her sunglasses every time she passed. She warned contractors I hired about violations. She photographed my lawn. She even showed up near my fence one day with a tape measure. I should have seen it coming. Linda doesn't respect boundaries, social, legal, or otherwise. And one morning she crossed the line that mattered most, my front door. It was a quiet Sunday, the kind of morning where the air smells like lake water and fresh coffee. I'd just come back from a quick fishing trip, parked my truck, and stepped onto the porch when I noticed something off. A window near the sunroom wasn't latched fully. That wasn't like me. I moved in quietly, fishing gear still in hand. Inside, the house was still, but I heard a faint sound of a drawer sliding open. My stomach sank. I set my things down and pulled out my phone, hitting record and slipping it into my chest pocket, camera facing out. Moving silently down the hall, I turned the corner into my kitchen and froze. There she was, Linda Cartwright, standing smack in the middle of my kitchen, rifling through my utensil drawer with a pair of white gloves on like she was dusting for evidence. She looked up at me without the slightest flinch, posture straight as a ruler. "Mr. Reed," she said, her voice dripping with the kind of forced politeness that only comes from a lifetime of giving unwanted advice. "I'm conducting a visual inspection following several community complaints." I stared, my blood starting to boil beneath the surface. "Linda, you broke into my house. This is trespassing. You're not the police, you're not code enforcement, and you sure as hell aren't welcome here." She remained stone-faced, defiant. "Your home's proximity places it within the HOA's sphere of visual influence. That gives us the right to ensure compliance when concerns arise." I almost laughed. "Visual influence? You're out of your mind." But I didn't let my anger run wild. I knew if I wanted this to end the right way, I had to handle it by the book. So I stepped back slowly, careful not to escalate the situation, and quietly made my way to the hallway. I didn't shout. I didn't slam doors. I just moved deliberately. My home is built solid with locking mechanisms I installed myself. I grabbed the key to the kitchen door, the only room in the house that can be locked from the outside. I returned, stepped into position, and with one quick motion closed the kitchen door and turned the key. Then, for good measure, I jammed a chair under the handle. Linda was locked in. Immediately, she started pounding on the door. "Thomas, this is unlawful detainment. I'll have you arrested. You're going to regret this." But I stayed calm. I called the sheriff, gave a clear, measured report, and waited. I even set up my second phone on the tripod I use for my DIY videos, recording the entire aftermath. 15 minutes later, 2 sheriff's cruisers rolled up my gravel driveway. Sheriff Daniel Mercer stepped out, his expression hard but curious as I calmly explained the situation, handed over my deeds, and showed him the video. He nodded. Good thinking, Tom. Let's take a look. When we entered the house, Linda was still banging and shouting, claiming she was acting as an HOA official performing a civic duty. Sheriff Mercer didn't buy it for a second. Ma'am, step away from the door. Hands where I can see them. The moment the sheriff unlocked the door and stepped in, Linda puffed up like a cat cornered by a dog. I'm the president of the Brookhaven Glades HOA. I was fulfilling my responsibility. This property affects the community. Mercer held up my documents. This property has never been under HOA jurisdiction. You broke in, ma'am. That's criminal trespass. She paled but kept her chin up. This is a misunderstanding. No, ma'am. This is a legal entry. You're under arrest. The clink of the handcuffs echoed through the hallway. Outside, neighbors had gathered, phones out, recording the spectacle. Linda's glare burned holes in the floor as she was led out of my house. Her threats, I'll sue. I'll have your badge, fell flat. Nobody cared. The case moved quickly. My footage, the sheriff's report, and the stack of legal documents made sure of that. Linda's lawyer tried spinning the narrative, blaming outdated maps and claiming she'd acted in good faith, but the prosecution dismantled every excuse. Witnesses came forward with their own stories of Linda's harassment and intimidation. By the time I testified, the courtroom already knew what kind of person Linda was. I didn't need to exaggerate. I played the footage, showed the documents, and described exactly what I saw. The judge wasn't impressed with her title. He called her behavior a reckless abuse of perceived authority and a dangerous violation of personal rights. Linda got 9 months probation, a hefty $25,000 fine, and a restraining order keeping her 200 yards away from my property. The HOA was forced to issue a public apology confirming that my land was never under their control. They removed Linda from her position as president with little fanfare, finally fed up with her reign of terror. Afterward, the neighborhood seemed to breathe easier. The HOA board elected a new president, a soft-spoken retired veterinarian named Robert Lane, who declared in his first speech, "We're here to support the neighborhood, not control it." The best part? The metal plaque I installed beneath the window Linda used to climb in. Simple, tasteful, and to the point. Yes, this is the window Linda broke into. Now she's behind bars instead. The welcome mat at my front door got an upgrade, too. Embroidered boldly across the front. HOA rules don't apply here. Break in, get locked up. It was petty, maybe, but it felt good. Even better was the unexpected support from neighbors who started showing up at my door with beers, pies, and handshakes. People who'd been too afraid to speak up before thanked me for standing my ground. I didn't do it for the attention. I did it because everyone deserves to feel safe in their own home. And if nothing else, the whole mess taught this neighborhood a hard-earned lesson about respect, boundaries, and the real meaning of community.